Ah, yes, Hollywood's golden age. The time when smoking was praised by both the commoners and the elite as the quintessential symbol of class. In this era, cigarettes were more than just props, they were a necessary evil. The stars glorified this dangerous vice like it was pure gold. Ever wonder which luminaries were ensnared by the perilous clutches of nicotine the most? Behold, as we unveil the 20 worst smokers in Hollywood history.
This is only a gag. I don't drink anymore. I freeze it now and I eat it like a popsicle.
Number 20. Dean Martin. Renowned for his butter-smooth songs and charismatic stage presence, Dean Martin had mid-20th century Hollywood on a chokehold. His distinctive husky voice became a trademark, and why wouldn't it? That baritone was simply irresistible. But alas, that soothing voice of his changed over the years. And no, it wasn't just because he aged. You see, he was a pretty heavy smoker. Throughout his life, Dean Martin was a dedicated cigarette smoker. He reportedly took a keen liking to Freddie Mercury's brand. And if the rumors are correct, he likely picked up his smoking habits around the age of 15. Sounds way too early, right? Yeah, we thought so too. But given how he became famous at a young age, he probably couldn't handle the pressure. Amidst his enduring popularity, Dean's health quickly deteriorated. To make things even worse, he was diagnosed with AIDS in 1993. But his misfortune didn't end there. Not even close. In that same year, he was diagnosed with emphysema, Alzheimer's, and even lung cancer. He even had issues with his kidneys. It was devastating, and the entirety of Hollywood was rocked. Yet Dean wasn't going to give up without a fight. Despite the uphill drive, he was able to quit smoking. However, the baggage of the other illnesses was too heavy for one man to bear. In 1995, Dean's story came to a tragic end. He was 78 at the time of his passing. To date, his life serves as a powerful reminder of the impact that smoking and other health concerns can have, even on the biggest stars. But hey, it only gets worse from here, because our next guy will leave your jaws dropped.
It's that you just notice more. You don't want to miss anything.
Number 19, Michael Landon. Remember Michael Landon's performance as Little Joe Cartwright on the beloved Western series Bonanza? Yeah, his cheerful and upbeat persona on set made him much loved by fans. Whether it was Charles Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie or Jonathan Smith in Highway to Heaven, Michael Landon always knew how to make an audience fall for his charms. He was so famous that he even appeared on the cover of TV Guide a staggering 22 times, second only to Lucille Ball. But alas, his domineering presence and impeccable vibes were kind of a facade. Behind the silver screens, Michael Landon had one pretty big flaw. He was a heavy smoker, one of the worst in the entire industry. During the show's run, the lovable Landon developed a nasty smoking addiction. As a matter of fact, he was said to smoke up to 4 packs of unfiltered cigarettes every single day. Boy, can you imagine how crazy that is? And we're not even close to being done. By 1961, his smoking habits were so bad that his coworkers gave him the nickname Socks. Curious about what it means? Well, no one can say for sure because it was an inside joke. Just kidding though, the nickname was given to him because he smoked so heavily that the scent of cigarettes seeped into his socks every day. So you see, Landon's smoking habits were no joke. And that's a bit unfortunate because it didn't take him until 1989 before he finally quit smoking. He died 3 years later after a battle with pancreatic cancer. But if you think his story is crazy, just wait until you see who is next. Number 18, Keith Richard. English songwriter and musician Keith Richard may be one of the most legendary figures in all of Hollywood, but even he was only human. On the one hand, his songwriting partnership with lead vocalist Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones is one of the most successful in history. But on the other hand, the entertainer had a nasty habit that could have derailed his career forever. Yeah, Keith Richard was a notorious smoker. Just like Michael Landon, he started smoking at an early age, with rumors suggesting that it was at the age of 17. But here's where things get quite interesting, albeit in a shocking way. You see, if the reports are proven to be true, then it would mean that Keith Richard had been smoking for around 50 years. And if we average that to 2 packs every day, which is pretty probable, then that would mean he smoked up to 40 cigarettes every single day. Multiplied by 50 years, Keith Richard has likely smoked over 730,000 cigarette sticks in his lifetime. Wow! Luckily though, Keith Richard is officially out of the smoking loop. He has now quit smoking in favor of a healthier lifestyle. In 2018, he informed Rolling Stone that he had substantially cut down on his drinking, opting for the occasional beer or glass of wine. Additionally, he also revealed to CBS that he quit smoking with the aid of nicotine patches and has since experienced an improvement in his stamina. But if you thought that was impressive, did you know that smoking isn't the only bad habit that Keith Richards has managed to drop over the years? Yeah, he has a well-documented history of doing all that stuff. Back in 2006, he quit using cocaine permanently. And even before that, he overcame his heroin issue. That was way back in 1978. Talk about willpower, right? However, the next guy on our list doesn't seem to care so much.
That I was bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Let's hit that, damn it.
Number 17, Arnold Schwarzenegger. While you may be surprised to see Arnold Schwarzenegger on our list today, Mr. Terminator is definitely one of the worst smokers in Hollywood history. Granted, he may not be as crazy as the two men before him, but the fact that he isn't remotely bothered about stopping alone keeps him high on our list. Plus, the former professional bodybuilder and governor has been smoking cigars since he was 19. Schwarzenegger's love for smoking cigars was evident in various moments throughout his career. Whether it was relaxing between intense workout sessions during his bodybuilding days or celebrating a successful film shoot on set, he often smoked a cigar in between. In fact, in a now viral interview, the star once famously bragged that he can smoke his stogie anywhere he wants. Remember his heart surgery some years ago? Well, the doctor advised him to quit smoking in order to not complicate his recovery. He turned a deaf ear. Days later, he was seen smoking a cigar while driving. Not even transitioning into the world of politics was enough to make Schwarzenegger stop his habits. Photographs often captured him with a cigar in hand, oozing a sense of power and authority common to his roles on screen. And guess what? Despite the obvious health risks associated with smoking, Schwarzenegger unapologetically views his habits as a small indulgence amidst his rigorous lifestyle. Even his friends suffer from it. Chris Pratt once confessed that he had a lung infection after smoking cigars with the Terminator himself. So you see, the machine is human after all. His unapologetic flaws and shortcomings add a different layer to his macho personality. We only hope that he doesn't get a big health challenge like the next guy on our list.
We might not win, but I might.
You watch it, because
Over at our place, we call it the side of the angels.
sure you do.
Number 16, William Tallman. When you think of William Tallman, you're probably thinking of drama masterpieces, Excellent, and his iconic Hamilton Burger character in the Perry Mason series, right? However, beneath the surface lies a side of him that is quite ugly. Despite bringing joy to millions off camera, he had a penchant for smoking, a habit that would eventually lead to his death. But let's unwrap things one at a time. Throughout his career, William Tallman was frequently seen with a cigarette in hand, and we're not just talking about his silver screen roles. Off the cameras, Tallman's smoking patterns had him consuming multiple packs a day, every day. To be fair, we don't really know when or why he started smoking. That part of him remains a puzzle yet to be solved, but it did take a significant toll on his health. In rapid time, the once healthy thespian became a shadow of his former self. In 1967, he was tragically diagnosed with lung cancer, and at that point, the writing was already on the wall. The life of everyone's favorite district attorney was in grave danger. Not much could be done to aid him. At the time, advanced treatment for cancer was a distant dream, and the fact that he was a severe smoker didn't help either. He died only a year later at the age of 53. But hey, if you had a hard time hearing Tallman's sad story, prepare to get heartbroken all over again.
Earl Dean taught me pain. I hate him.
You escaped?
Number 15, Amanda Blake. Yep, that's right. Our list of worst smokers in Hollywood's history isn't reserved for men alone. Renowned for her portrayal of Kitty Russell in the beloved TV series Gunsmoke and the on-screen success that came with it, Amanda Blake's life was overshadowed by the dangers of smoking. Throughout the years, she battled a severe addiction, consuming approximately 4 packs of cigarettes daily. And sadly, this habit of hers would eventually contribute to her health challenges. But what we find the most traumatic is the fact that, despite repetitive warnings of the health challenges that stem from smoking, she kept indulging in her bad habits. Whether it was in between movie shoots or in the comfort of her own abode, she was so obsessed that she could not even go more than 10 minutes without lighting up a cigarette. However, while she managed to beat most of the health complications that came from excessive smoking, she eventually passed away at the age of 60. The cause? AIDS-related complications. But alas, while you can't argue that she may have lived longer if contemporary medicine had been available to her in the 1980s, one thing is for sure, her sad tale of excessive smoking remains a cautionary tale of the dangers of this addictive habit, even for the biggest Hollywood stars out there.
kind Count Nicholas Rostov, I decorate you with the order of absolutely everything.
Number 14. Audrey Hepburn. Ah, yes, the iconic Audrey Hepburn. Hailed by both the entertainment and fashion industries for her looks and sultry appeal, she became one of the most recognizable sex symbols of her time. And don't even get us started on her success. Acknowledged as both a film and fashion icon, she was ranked by the American Film Institute as the third greatest female screen legend from the classic Hollywood cinema era, and was honored with induction into the International Best Dressed Hall of Fame list. But in spite of her renowned grace and elegance, Audrey Hepburn harbored a lesser-known habit that contradicted her polished image. She was a habitual smoker, and a really bad one. She smoked roughly 3 packs of cigarettes every day, which translates to 60 sticks. And despite being an introvert who found comfort in solitude, she never shied away from socializing with fellow actors with a cigar stick in her hands. But before you raise your eyebrows in shock, you might want to grab a tissue or two. You see, her smoking habit began in her mid-teens, around the age of 15 or 16, because it was the only way she could cope with the anxiety and nerves that came with fame. Interestingly, Audrey Hepburn had her preferred cigarette brands. During her earlier years, she favored Gold Flake cigarettes, an English brand, which she smoked using a long filter cigarette holder. But as time went on, she switched to smoking Kent cigarettes, using her signature cigarette holder. She eventually died in Switzerland at the age of 63 after battling appendix cancer. But if you have any high hopes for this next star, prepare to be surprised.
Regrets, Coyote. We just come from such different sets of circumstance. I'm up all night in the studios in Europe, early on your end.
Number 13. Joni Mitchell. Next up, we have Canadian-American singer, songwriter, and painter Roberta Joan Joni Mitchell. Widely considered one of the greatest singer-songwriters of all time, you must have heard a lot about her. But did you also know she had a well-documented problem with smoking? Joni Mitchell's relationship with smoking mirrors the evolving attitudes towards tobacco throughout the years. She started smoking at the age of 9, during an era where the harmful effects were not widely known, and by the time the dangers of smoking began to make waves, she was already a regular smoker. Turning back was an uphill drive. For starters, she was already addicted to nicotine, and secondly, she had already made a strong habit of it. But here's the real sad part. Even during her school years, she continued smoking, even throughout her pregnancy, with a daughter whom she later gave up for adoption in 1965, expressing her hope for her daughter's health. Throughout her life, Joni Mitchell has had a pretty strange outlook on smoking. To date, she remains unapologetic about her smoking habit. In a 2007 interview, she even went so far as to declare that smoking is one of life's great pleasures. But if you think that was weird, prepare to encounter even worse. Our top 5 list will blow your hat off.
You want it on? Doesn't matter. I detest cheap scent.
Number 12. Bette Davis. Next up is Bette Davis, one of the craziest smokers in Hollywood you'd ever see. Throughout her career, Bette Davis became famous for smoking on screen. This was because she believed in portraying realism in her films. Whenever her characters were depicted as smokers, she insisted on faithfully representing their habits by constantly having lit cigarettes in her hands throughout the entire movie, mimicking the behavior of real-life smokers. But don't take this to mean she never smoked off-screen. She had a strong addiction, smoking around 4 packs of Vanguard cigarettes per day. Not even a trip to the dentist could dissuade her from smoking. She would smoke in the waiting room and even in the dental chair. It was so bad that she even claimed she couldn't go more than 10 minutes without lighting up a cigar stick. We guess why that's why she almost always held one during interviews. But hey, do you want to know what surprises us the most? Despite having a total addiction to smoking, she surprisingly managed to live a long life without being affected by smoking-related diseases. Sure, she aged significantly, but it was only after a battle with breast cancer that she passed away. And guess what? She was 81 at the time. At her death, though, it was reported that she continued smoking up to 100 cigarettes every single day. Our next actor is one of the most influential figures in Hollywood's classical era. Can you guess who?
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world.
Number 11, Humphrey Bogart. Yep, it's the one and only Humphrey Bogart, the legendary thespian who was one of the greatest figures in Hollywood in his time. But life, they say, is never a bed of roses. For Bogart, his bad habits created dire consequences in his private life. Bogart was a heavy smoker, consuming 2 packs of cigarettes daily, and was also noted for his heavy drinking. His smoking habit led to constant coughing, while his excessive drinking resulted in fatigue and memory loss, which were visibly apparent. Nonetheless, you'd never guess how Bogart's life as a smoker began. You see, in the early days of filmmaking, screenplays contained fewer physical directions and often consisted of long monologues. During a shoot, he voiced his boredom to the director and humorously suggested that the scene would only be magnetic if there were 2 camels engaging in a rather scandalous act in the background. While the director didn't entertain the ideas of camels in the scene, he suggested that Bogart incorporate smoking instead. This ingenious suggestion served 2 purposes. First, it provided Bogart with an action to break up the monotony of the monologue, adding depth to his performance. Second, the act of smoking captivated the audience's attention as they focused on Bogart's face during each drag, keeping them engaged in the scene. Consequently, Bogart adopted smoking as a recurring trait in his films, establishing a firm link between his enigmatic personas and cigarettes. Unfortunately, his smoking not only influenced millions of other people to try it themselves, thinking it was cool, but it also led to his untimely demise. Bogart postponed seeing a doctor until 1956 in order to address his cough and other health concerns. Then it was disclosed that his long-term smoking habit was the direct cause of his esophageal cancer. His extraordinary career was cruelly cut short by the same habit he had come to associate with being cool. Ironic, isn't it? Nevertheless, you might want to brace yourselves because celebrity number 10 will leave you utterly
A certain someone who makes me feel that way. And ever since I met her, I'm a-singing in the saddle. Ski-daddle-doodle-daddle.
Number 10. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn enjoyed great success as an actor in the late 1930s, appearing in hit movies including The Charge of the Light Brigade, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex. Remember David Niven? Yeah, he was another handsome Hollywood hunk in the 1930s, but here's the thing. He and Errol Flynn lived together in a home they called Cirrhosis by the Sea, where they had wonderful times. From drinking to smoking and even throwing wild parties, they did all kinds of stuff there. Flynn was particularly notorious in this regard. He was a heavy drinker and even came up with the brilliant idea of injecting vodka into oranges to get booze into film sets where it was not allowed. Along with his decadent lifestyle, he battled an opium addiction that started to damage his looks. And don't even get us started on his weird obsession with cigarettes. A combination of all of these things placed his personal life in deep turmoil. Despite his 3 marriages, Flynn never truly found contentment, and to make things worse, he faced allegations of statutory rape involving 2 teenage girls in 1942, further adding to his troubles. Although he was acquitted with the support of Warner Brothers' legal team, not everyone believed in his innocence. And would you blame them, though? Mr. Flynn had a really bad reputation. But while his career never fully recovered from the charges, the worst was yet to come. Enter the late 1940s, and Flynn's health began to severely deteriorate. His history of drug use, excessive drinking, and smoking finally caught up to him. The final blow to his tragic career came at the age of 50. What was the cause of it? A fatal heart attack occurred while he was on a visit to Dr. Grant Gould's apartment in Canada to sell his beloved yacht. But the story doesn't even end there. The shocking autopsy results revealed that Flynn had the body of a 75-year-old man. Even if he never had a heart attack, his severely damaged liver guaranteed that he only had a year to live at most. But as we dive deeper into the secret lives of Hollywood celebrities, prepare for some even bigger disappointments. Like the next guy, for instance.
Gee, I would give my heart gladly, but each day when she walks to the sea, she looks straight ahead, not at...
Number 9. Sammy Davis Jr. Similarly to Errol Flynn, Sammy Davis Jr. was notorious for indulging in profane activities like smoking, drinking, and the occasional womanizing. You remember all that, right? Well, here's where things get interesting. Did you know that many of those activities were nothing more than acts? Yep, like a movie scene. It was completely scripted. During their performances, artists like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. would pretend to drink whiskey by sipping apple juice. And about their famous womanizing escapades, contrary to widespread belief, they weren't even chasing after women, but rather they were the ones being pursued by women who were clearly smitten. Now at this point, you might be wondering why he's on this list, especially given that he is placed so high, aren't you? Well, here's the thing. While Sammy Davis Jr.'s notorious drinking and womanizing escapades were merely an illusion, smoking was the one aspect of his lifestyle that he couldn't fake. As a matter of fact, Sammy Davis Jr. was a heavy smoker. He would even smoke on stage, which was risky for anyone's health, but especially harmful for a singer. One of his signature moves was to take a puff during a song and then exhale smoke as he sang the next note. adding a unique flair to his stage presence. But while that might have been a cool sight to see, it did have a pretty negative consequence for his well-being. Nat King Cole once cautioned Sammy about the potential harm his habitual smoking could inflict, emphasizing how the intense heat from the cigarette smoke could detrimentally affect his vocal cords. But regrettably, Sammy didn't heed the advice. In the 1980s, when he encountered vocal difficulties, his manager basically forced him to consult a throat specialist. The visit was terrifying. The doctor all but confirmed that Nat King Cole was right after all. Years of singing while smoking had caused inflamed nodules on Sammy's vocal cords. What a career he might have had if he only took care of himself. Number 8. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead lived a life that was as captivating as her performances. Hailing from a powerful political lineage, she carved her own path, supporting liberal causes and championing civil rights. Yet her struggles with addiction, particularly to cigarettes, were as infamous as her talents. Bankhead's affinity for smoking was simply the stuff of legends. In fact, reports claim that she consumed a staggering 120 cigarettes daily. Was she shy about it though? Certainly not. She discussed her vices openly, just as she embraced her fluid romantic relationships. But alas, her final days were a somber reflection of her tumultuous life. Succumbing to pleural double pneumonia at St. Luke's Hospital in Manhattan in 1968, her health was ravaged by emphysema, a consequence of her heavy smoking. And guess what? Her pneumonia was more complicated due to cigarette smoking and malnutrition. And she wasn't still remorseful. In her last moments, she still requested codeine and bourbon. But here's what we find most interesting about her. Despite claiming to be poor for much of her life, did you know that Bankhead left an estate valued at $2 million? In today's economy, that's more than $17.5 million. Admit it, her last name is simply ironic.
Bugs?
Who's a bug?
You are.
I am?
No, I was only fooling.
Number 7. George Formby. George Formby's life was a mix of fame and peculiar habits, but perhaps none was as remarkable as his relationship with his faithful companion, daily cigarettes. Despite his heart condition, George couldn't resist his daily ritual of smoking up to 40 Capstone full-length and Woodbine cigarettes. It was a habit he humorously called his coffin nails, a nod to the dangers he was knowingly subjecting himself to. At this point, it's almost like these Hollywood celebrities don't take care of themselves, because George's indulgences didn't stop there. Alongside his heavy smoking, he had a fondness for a rather unconventional breakfast choice, beef dripping toast. But while that may have sounded delicious, it was a deadly combination. Smoking and poor dietary habits ultimately led to a myriad of health problems. As his fame continued to soar, Formby's health began to decline. His once robust frame was now burdened with a gastric ulcer and breathing difficulties directly linked to his smoking addiction. But guess what? Despite the warnings from his doctors, George still didn't quit his bad habits. The allure of those coffin nails proved too strong to resist, even in the face of deteriorating health. Soon after, he faced never-ending health concerns, including high blood pressure, obesity, and heart problems. On March 6, 1961, just 2 days before the wedding, Formby died of heart failure. His coffin nails habits ironically proved to be the nail in his coffin. So as we reflect on the life of George Formby, let's remember the importance of taking care of our health and making wise choices. Failure to do so could have dire consequences. But hey, if you've enjoyed this video so far, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. We've got tons of new content that you can't afford to miss.
On the pages of history, since the beginning of time, it has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach to the destruction of...
Number 6. Rod Serling. Rod Serling may have been hailed as the brilliant mind behind The Twilight Zone, but behind the scenes, he battled inner demons that drove him to seek solace in destructive habits. His struggle with self-doubt and anxiety manifested in heavy drinking and chain smoking, habits that only intensified after the conclusion of his groundbreaking series. Wondering how? Fearing the inability to replicate the success of The Twilight Zone, Serling downed his anxieties in alcohol, often consuming copious amounts daily. Additionally, he smoked 4 packs of cigarettes each day, using nicotine as a crutch to cope with his inner turmoil. So you see, despite his outward success, Serling was internally plagued by a sense of inadequacy and despair. As he attempted to navigate life after his peak, Serling wandered about. He moved from one project to another with little direction. Occasionally, he took on acting roles, but his true passion for storytelling seemed to elude him. Throughout it all, alcohol and cigarettes remained his constant companions, providing fleeting moments of relief from his inner torment. In 1975, Sterling's disregard for his health came back to haunt him as he required bypass surgery to address a clogged artery, a consequence of years of neglecting his well-being. Sadly, during the surgery, Sterling's already weakened heart couldn't endure the stress of the procedure and gave out. He passed away at 50, his heart succumbing to the consequences of years of self-inflicted harm. Number 5. Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason soared to stardom by portraying the unforgettable Ralph Cramden in The Honeymooners, leaving an indelible mark on Hollywood. His commanding and charismatic presence resonated deeply with audiences across the nation. But sadly, Gleason had one big flaw. He possessed a voracious appetite that matched his immense stature. Weighing in between 230 and 330 pounds, his insatiable hunger led him to indulge in unhealthy eating habits. But that's not even close to his greatest sin. Gleason had a deep affection for alcohol, consuming whiskey with alarming frequency, treating it as casually as water. A scotch was a daily affair to him, and sobriety a huge rarity. And don't even get us started on how he was a heavy smoker who effortlessly went through 5 packs of cigarettes every day. All of these habits, combined with his size, posed significant mobility challenges for the entertainer. Even his libido was badly affected. Unfortunately, Gleason continued with his unhealthy lifestyle until he eventually fell victim to colon cancer at the age of 71. But before you feel sad about his demise, you might want to wait and see who the top 2 worst smokers are. You may just shed a tear or two. But for now, let's head on to number 4.
I cannot stand all the time. And in this country, no one's head shall be higher than king's.
Number 4. Yul Brynner. Renowned for his domineering presence both on the silver screen and on Broadway, Yul Brynner is one of the most charismatic figures in the entertainment industry. But yet he had one big dark secret. He consumed a staggering 5 packs of cigarettes each day. Unfortunately, the consequences of these shortcomings eventually caught up with him. He tragically lost his life to lung cancer as a result of his long-standing smoking habit. But here's another staggering truth. Before he passed away, he actually filmed a commercial for the American Cancer Society. On it, though, his voice appeared frail and particularly raspy. He begged viewers to take care of their health and not follow in his footsteps. In a remarkable gesture, Brynner acknowledged that the commercial would be broadcast after his passing, underscoring the urgency of his message. With a gaze that seemed to penetrate through the screen, he delivered his plea with haunting intensity, uttering, "Now that I'm gone, don't smoke. Whatever you do, just don't smoke." This compelling footage was captured during his interview on Good Morning America, where he addressed a question regarding what message he would convey to smokers if he could speak to them from beyond the grave. This campaign proved to be chilling yet impactful. His addiction bore the brunt of responsibility for this tragic deterioration, serving as a somber reminder of the dangers inherent in such a destructive habit. But here lies celebrity smoker number 3.
31st of August is Village Fest, Logan Village, and Choir Boy's going to be there. I'm a singer from Choir Boys. It's going to rock.
Number 3. Clark Gable. During the golden era of Hollywood, Clark Gable stood as an unparalleled figure, reigning supreme as an iconic American actor and earning the prestigious moniker of the King of Hollywood. He made a crazy ascent to stardom with his unforgettable depiction of Rhett Butler in the timeless 1939 epic Gone with the Wind, opposite the captivating Vivien Leigh. His remarkable talent earned him 3 Academy Award nominations, culminating in a win for his outstanding performance in It Happened One Night. The Misfits, his final film, solidified itself as a testament to Gable's extraordinary career in the annals of cinema. Yet Gable's legacy extended beyond the silver screen. In 1942, at the peak of his fame, he made a remarkable decision that took him far from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. He joined the U.S. Air Force. There he gained the rank of captain and even led a 6-man motion picture unit. While stationed at RAF Holbrook, Gable's life soared to new heights. Fueled by an unwavering spirit, Gable flew on 5 combat missions, including a daring excursion to Germany, where he served as an observer gunner aboard a B-15 Flying Fortress. His courageous actions earned him the esteemed Air Medal and the coveted Distinguished Flying Cross, gaining admiration from none other than Adolf Hitler himself. The Nazi leader even offered a hefty reward for his capture, unarmed of course. But alas, tragedy struck Gable eventually, and no, it wasn't in the hands of the Germans. He had a fatal heart attack, the 4th of his life. But before that, Gable had a long history of smoking. He smoked 3 packs of unfiltered cigarettes daily for over 30 years, as well as cigars and copious bowls of pipe tobacco. So yeah, you do the math. His final resting place is in the tranquil surroundings of Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California. His legacy continues to serve as an enduring source of inspiration for generations to come. But finally, here come the top 2 in today's video.
I don't know. I can't quite figure you out. What are you trying to prove? Why am I here?
Well, Sam,
After all, a little Normo could have driven.
Number 2. Spencer Tracy. Ensnared by vices that plagued his adult years, Spencer Tracy grappled with alcoholism, chain smoking, and dependence on pills. As he entered his 60s, the repercussions of these habits began to manifest, pushing him to the brink of deteriorating health. But here's where things came crashing down. On July 21, 1963, what should have been an average day in Hollywood ended up becoming a rude shock. You see, with his body suffocating under the weight of a severe breathlessness attack, Tracy was rushed to the hospital. The air must have been grim. At that point, it was overwhelmingly clear that his health was in jeopardy, reaching a crucial point that marked the beginning of his most challenging period yet. Enter July 1965, and Tracy was dealt another devastating blow with a grave diagnosis: hypertensive heart disease. This affliction loomed ominously over his life, serving as a constant reminder of his mortality's fragility. And like that wasn't already enough, the following year pushed Tracy's will to its limits. He was bombarded with near-death experiences and danced on the edge of life itself. With his health deteriorating rapidly, Tracy became a prisoner in his own home, confined to the sanctuary of familiar walls. But hey, you know what they say, fortune favors the bold. Amidst this challenging period, Tracy found solace in his unwavering love for Katharine Hepburn. As his days became a fragile balance with mortality, his spirit endured, finding strength in the steadfast support of the woman who remained by his side until the end. He may have passed away in 1967 after fighting for his life every day, but his remarkable bond stood as a testament to the resilience of love and companionship in the face of life's most formidable trials. Admit it, you're feeling pretty emotional at the moment. After all, you are only human. Nonetheless, can you guess who our final pick is for today?
All of you do yourselves a favor. Get a checkup. Talk someone you like into getting it.
Number 1. John Wayne. Renowned for his legendary roles in over 170 movies, John Wayne has reigned supreme in Hollywood as one of the industry's highest-paid actors for over 4 decades. With his commanding height of 6 feet 4 and a weight of 225 pounds, his imposing presence and rugged demeanor made him the quintessential choice for portraying cowboy, lawman, soldier, and athlete characters alike. Beyond his screen performances, John Wayne actively engaged in product endorsements. He even appeared in magazine advertisements and television commercials for Camel cigarettes. However, despite his remarkable success, Wayne led a lifestyle that dared life itself. Since his high school days, John Wayne had developed a habit of chain smoking, persisting in this practice from morning until night, and to make things even worse, he battled with excessive alcohol consumption as the years went by. It was so bad that during the production of his later movies, studio directors made it a priority to finish filming before noon to minimize the adverse impact of alcohol on Wayne's demeanor. But you didn't think all of these would come with dire consequences, did you? In the 1950s, Wayne's smoking habit reached alarming levels, with him consuming an astonishing 7 packs of unfiltered Camels daily. Sadly, this excessive smoking took a heavy toll on his health. It was so bad that in 1964, he had to go under the knife to remove most of his left lung due to the detrimental effects of tobacco. However, 15 years later, complications from stomach cancer tragically led to his passing at the age of 72. And there you have it, guys, the 20 worst smokers in Hollywood history. But here lies the million-dollar question: which one of these guys surprised you the most? Make sure to like and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to watch the video currently displaying on your screen for more juicy exposés like this.